Mr. Chairman, I now invite Chief Superintendent Retired Jacob Yabuni Yidana. Jacob Yabuni Yidana.
You are here to give your evidence to the commission. Before you do that, you have to swear either on the Bible, the cross, the Quran, or you can affirm if you so wish.
I'll swear on the cross.
You swear on the cross. Now, give out your full name to the commission and say after me. Pull it back.
I, Jacob Yabuni Yidana,
Do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that the evidence
I
shall give to the commission
shall give to the commission
shall be the truth,
the
whole truth,
truth,
nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
SOC in English, my Lord.
Currently, I'm a research officer with the Ministry of Interior.
Where do you live?
I live on Switchback Road, Block B1, Flat 1.
You were in the police force.
Yes, my Lord.
What year did you join the police force?
I joined the police force in October 1970.
Now, in 1982, what was your position and rank?
I was Chief Superintendent of Police.
Now, were you assigned special duties in 1982?
Yes, in 1982, I was assigned to investigate Accra Brewery, the fire outbreak at Ajebin, and also to investigate the murder of the 3 High Court judges and a retired officer.
Can you tell the commission about the investigation of the 3 High Court judges and the retired army officer in 1982? Can you tell them?
My Lord, I'll try to be brief because it's a very, very, it's quite a long story.
Yes, but I believe you wrote a book.
I did, my Lord.
Well, your book, we have a copy. So if you can be brief.
Yeah. On the 1st of July, I heard police messages all over the police walkie-talkies that 3 High Court judges had been, and a retired army officer had been abducted from their homes in the night of the 30th of June. That's 82. This sort of communication went on for quite some time. And then on the 2nd of July, the police in Accra were assembled and asked to go around and search for these kidnapped persons. Were to search Achimota Forest and some other buildings. We did the search, we interviewed a few people, but we didn't have any clue as to who had. The only clue we had was that those people who came wore northern smocks. We didn't know where they had sent the victims, and we also didn't know who exactly had committed the offense. It was not until 3rd of July, that was a Saturday, that some military men who went to for exercises at a place called Bondazi saw the bodies of 3 males and a female. So they came and reported at the police operations room. So I was called to be part of a team that was to go and bring the bodies to Accra for identification. That was Saturday. We went to the headquarters and were there milling around it. No decision was taken until about somewhere around 10 o'clock. So we left as a team. We're led by one Assistant Commissioner of Police Operations, Mr. Ahinakwa. And we went and we couldn't bring the bodies because the bodies were highly decomposed. We could see the maggots, all over the place, and we were ill-equipped. We didn't have masks, we didn't have hand gloves, we didn't have ambulances, we didn't have detergents, and so therefore we came back at about 12 midnight, and I reported. And then we had to prepare to go the next day, but I had wanted a shortcut. But as you say, you have a copy of my book. You see why I wanted a shortcut, that in criminal investigation where you find that there is a dead body and that they carrying the dead body from the scene to another place for postmortem might cause mutilation, you can ask the coroner to instruct the pathologist to perform the postmortem at the scene of crime. And my judgment was that the bodies were highly decomposed. But eventually, force was brought to bear on us to bring the bodies, and all principles regarding proper investigations were completely thrown overboard. Then we brought the bodies on Sunday. Went back there on Sunday, brought the body to 37 Military Hospital in the afternoon of Sunday, and postmortem was performed after the identification of the bodies. And then the burial also took place. So we thought with the atmosphere at the time, most of us thought that was the end of the matter. But the Commissioner CID at the time decided to constitute a team of detectives to find out those who did it and why. And we had an Assistant Commissioner of Police who gradually faded out, so I remained the head of the investigation. So we're able to put pieces and pieces of information together and finally arrested the 4 people who perpetrated the crime: America, Senya, Tekpo, and Jandu. And in the course of interrogation, they then mentioned Amatekwe. Then we brought in Amatekwe, who also mentioned Captain Kojo Chikate retired. And then just at that time, a board had been set to supervise our work. So all our reports went to the Special Investigations Board. And at the end of the investigations, the board made recommendations. But before the board finished its final report, I had been arrested. So that was, I didn't know what went on in respect of whether the report was good or was bad.
Now, can you tell the Commission about your arrest, trial, and imprisonment?
Yeah, on the 5th of March, my Lord, I was invited to BNI, and I was given a summons. And I was then very busy with my team preparing the duplicate docket, even though the SIB had not finished its report. We were preparing the duplicate docket because the Commissioner had told me that I should get it ready, and then the next week send it to Attorney General's office. So I was invited on the 5th to BNI by the National Investigation Commission committee at that time. I didn't know exactly what I had done to be given a summons to appear before the National Investigations Commission. I went there, and every officer there played some dilly-dallying game until I realized that nobody was prepared to see me. So I walked away. Then on the 6th of March, that was 1983, I was invited to the police operations room in the afternoon, and I went there. I met the then IGP, Kublenu. I met Asasi Jima. I met Captain Kusi. And I was out to wait outside. So I sat on the chair outside. Then after about 15 minutes, Asase Jima and Captain Kusi came out and said we were going for an operation. The operation landed at BNI headquarters, where I was told that I was not to go home. I was to be interrogated, that I had assisted somebody to escape from this country, and that was that. And I was interrogated after 3 days, and on the 16th of March, I was charged with harboring a criminal.
Who was the alleged criminal?
Captain Kora.
Now, did you in fact harbor Captain Kora?
I did not.
But how did it come about that you were charged with such?
My Lord, certain circumstances had been created. I got to know that Captain Kora had come to my house sometime in November '82 after my arrest. Then I was asking the other people how it was that we have been arrested, Alaji Mumuni particularly. And he said Captain Kora came around there and said he was from Tamale, and he was on his way to Kumasi and was looking for his brother. And the brother was at Tesano. So Alaji Mumuni said he was going home to come and pick him to Tesano, but unfortunately he couldn't come back. So the next day he came and picked him and sent him to his brother's house and went away. And because I will have to make one point clear why I wasn't in the house. On the 7th of January after the coup, I was invited by Rawlings himself to Gondar Barracks. And it appeared our discussion didn't even end on that day. He invited me again on the 26th of January. And we were having some disagreements over certain issues. So I decided that for security reasons, and I also realized that they were keeping my house under watch, and it was probably not wise for me to stay in the house, that anything could happen. So I wasn't sleeping in the house. So maybe if I had met him or had seen him, I would have been able to say exactly what happened. I would have told the interrogators that yes, the man came to my house and left, or I saw him and he left. But I would not have denied that I didn't harbor him. I wasn't there.
So when you were charged, you were tried by the tribunal?
Yeah, I was tried by one of the national public tribunals.
Were you convicted?
I was convicted.
For how many years?
To 8 years IHL.
Did you appeal against the sentence or conviction?
The PNDC law 24 under which we were convicted did not give us the right to appeal. And even when the PNDC law 78 repealed law 24, we were excluded. Those who were tried before, they said those who were tried before December 1984 or in 1983 had no right of appeal. What the 78 provided for was that we could petition the PNDC. And our lawyer came and promised to do that. That was the late Kutadankwa. He promised to do that on our behalf, but we don't know whether he did it or not.
So at the time, how many children did you have?
I had 5 children.
How old was the youngest?
The youngest was about 10.
Now, did you spend the whole 8 years in prison?
Yeah, I spent more than 8 years, and the explanation is this, that when you are given a sentence of, say, 8 years, you have a 1/3 remission. Previously, this period of remission was meant to be a period of probation for the prisoner. But now it looks like the 1/3 is a gift. But every prisoner who behaves well ends it. If you misbehave or you contravene any regulation in the prison, you are charged and tried. And there are also regulations which specify what type of offenses you can commit, and then you have your part of your remission forfeited or hold the whole of it. So when I went in when we were convicted in August, that was 19th August, our sentences were backdated to March. So it meant that by the 7th of July 1988, I was due to be released, because if I behaved properly. But on the 6th of July 1988, I was invited by the Assistant Director of Prisons in charge of Nsawam Prison, and told me that he had received a letter from Accra that I was to be kept in prison until further notice, because I was a threat to national security.
Did you see the letter?
I didn't see the letter.
Did you later get to know who signed the letter?
Well, it was when I came back from Holland in 2001, I got to know that it was Captain Kojo Chikata who signed the letter.
And this Captain Kojo Chikata, he was named in your investigation?
Yeah, he was.
Now, what do you have to tell the commission?
As contained in my petition, I want the commission to be able to find out what real reasons Captain Kojo Chikata had to bring up such a letter. And I stayed back in prison for another a little under 4 years. And it was during this time my first child died. And I think that was a period of very traumatic events whilst I was in prison. And I wanted the committee, I was craving the intelligence of the commission to look into the circumstances that led to my detention, and whatever the commission can recommend for me in terms of compensation. But again, my experiences in prison, and I'm putting that in a second book, is that it looks like Ghanaians have not been determined enough to defend democracy. Why I'm saying so is this, that at that time it was just a few people who held everybody under bondage and did what they liked. But you can still see signs of those things rippling all around. And when I observe what we are doing now, I am reminded of a statement of John Kennedy when he visited Germany, and he advised the East Germans to break down the wall. And they said no, and he told them that freedom has its difficulties. Democracy itself is not perfect, but it doesn't mean that we should build a wall and keep our people inside. But it looks like we still have sections of our society who are not determined to defend democracy. They still think that they can keep everybody under bondage and do whatever they like. And I think it appears a lot of people do not learn from history. That's why the historians say history teaches man that man does not learn from history. And if we're learning from history, even the trials of Nuremberg were just enough to teach any nihilist that democracy is better than dictatorship, because whatever you do today will catch up with you tomorrow. The other thing is the perpetrators. What has been bothering me is that there is not one perpetrator who has come rather to call the victim to apologize. A perpetrator to come and say that on such and such a day, at such and such a time, I did this to this person, so I'm asking the commission to invite the man for me to apologize to him for what happened. Then it then appears that the perpetrators are withdrawing into their shell, which is very bad for national development. Because when you do that, you are still going into yourself to make rules to deal with a situation. And there we'll have a lot of problems with that. And the perpetrators' unwillingness to come and just give up, just say what happens. If we don't have them doing this, then we are going to have a lot of problem on our hand in terms of security. Reformation. My book is basically on reformation of prisoners. And I think what society is doing now is to dodge the question. We talk of improving conditions in the prisons for prisoners because they are human beings. But we don't think about our role. Reformation starts from the prison and it ends in society. But let's say if a prisoner comes out of, say, in Sawam prison, where he hasn't been paying any rent, he doesn't buy food, he doesn't pay for electricity, and he comes out, and the society rejects him because he's a convict, he's a criminal, he's not to be employed. Nobody wants to associate with him. If he goes back to sleep at the bar stations and he picks bits and bits of food from refuse dumps, now where else does he go? He has to go back there. And I'm saying that because in about 1988-89, with the assistance of Kwame Pianim, we trained a number of prisoners to become Class 3 referees because we were promoting football in the prison yard. And then we told the prison officers that when these people are being discharged, you should give them letters to go to sports council because they were men of substance. We didn't think they were those riffraffs or those who formed part of what we call the revolving door population of the prison. But they were men we thought, we knew that if they came out and they were gainfully employed and they were looked after, they would stay out of prison. And we did this, but nobody followed up. It is because society attitude is very negative toward the prisoner. And it is so because when I came out, because I wasn't pardoned, nobody would employ me. That was what happened. I was just a criminal. So we need to change our attitude. If we think reformation has to take effect in the life of somebody who has gone to jail, it is not only the prison. The prison as it is, sometimes might probably succeed in doing 1/3 of the reform. The 2/3 remains with the society, the house society, that we have to accept them and rehabilitate them. So I think that these are the points I want to talk to for the...
That's all for the witness.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Mr. Yidana, for sharing those deep thoughts with us. I hope my other colleagues may comment on some of the suggestions that you made. But I want to go back to a statement you just made almost casually in your earlier presentation. And you said that the person who was in charge of the investigating team faded out. Why did this man fade out?
It's unfortunate he is no more, but from what I deduced from his behavior, it appeared he knew more than we knew, and he didn't want to get into trouble. So when it came to us in interrogating the people, he would say, oh, I've been given an assignment by Commissioner CRD. I've been given an assignment by the IGP, so you go ahead. and then gradually he was no longer part of us. But I suspect, or I suspected at that time, that he knew more than we knew. So he advised himself.
Now, my second question is about the fate of those colleagues you worked with in that investigation team. Because, it can lead us to make some assumptions. What you suffered, can you say that it happened to your other colleagues who constituted the investigation team?
Yeah, a few, Inspector Daku, whilst I was in Ashford, even awaiting trial, was arrested and placed in Castle Guard room. There was an attempt to arrest Ohinansa, who was my deputy. He ran away and he escaped to Togo, and now he's living in Britain. ASP Odru was also arrested. He escaped from prison during the June 19th events. He's now living in Holland. And Musa, my corporal, he was also arrested and kept in Air Force Guard room at the time I was arrested. So the bulk of my team, I said they were the few good men, but now they are men with broken hearts.
Well, thank you very much, Yidana. That was quite revealing. Thank you for the additional information.
Jacob, good to have you here again.
Thank you.
Let me say how much we appreciate your support for the work of this commission. You've talked briefly on the matter of the three judges and the retired army officer. Well, it's a very, very major issue which I'm sure will be seized with for some time. And again, thank you very much for your book. I'm sure it's tremendous education for all of us, and every Ghanaian appreciates the contribution that you're making. It's all towards the process of our democracy, which we are fighting for. You've just mentioned the need to fight for it, and I think it's something that we have to do if really eventually we have to have the total peace in this country. And you've started already anyway, which is an inspiration to all of us. Thank you very much. They're talking of here you becoming a danger to national security because of harboring this chap. Now, Kora, who was he?
Kora was a lieutenant at the Model Regiment at Ho, and it was alleged that he was involved in the, was it 23rd or?
We don't create or we don't allow such situation ever to happen again. I think that's something that we all have to fight for. The reformation of prisoners and reformation of prisons. It's a very important point that we've made. Certain things have happened in prison. We've heard of witnesses coming here and telling their gory stories about, and I think it's something that we have to see how best to turn them around. People in prison, detainees or whoever criminal should come out as reformed people, so that they can be more useful members of the society. I'm waiting to read is it your second book, which
Yes.
you mentioned?
Yes, my lord.
I hope it will come out very shortly. But Jacob, may I ask, what are you doing now?
I'm a research officer with the Ministry of Interior.
I see. Well, thank you very much indeed, and thanks for coming.
Mr. Yidana, have you heard this expression before? Happy are those who dream dreams and are ready to pay the price to make them come true.
I've heard that, my Lord.
Keep it in the back of your mind. There are many people like that in this country. They have dreams of a better Ghana and are ready to pay the price for it. Thank you.
Broken-hearted. What do you think we can do to bring some type of solace to them?
I think, if I may ask the Commission, if they could be rehabilitated in the form of some compensation. I don't think it would have been a move in the wrong direction. It would have also motivated others. As I've always been saying, maybe there were other policemen in the system who could have done a better job than we did. But if the tax fell on us and we did our best and the nation has appreciated it, and I think the nation must show some appreciation of what we did and what we suffered. So I am humbly asking the Commission if it could make some recommendation for members of my team to be rehabilitated. Living in Europe is not easy. I personally lived in Europe for 6 years. When I came out of prison in 1995, I was arrested again. And when I was granted bail, amnesty got me out to Holland. And it is not easy to stay there. And so they are there, they want to come, but when they come back, from where do they start? That's the question facing most of, Ohina says there, my book has even become a source of income for Inspector Daku, who couldn't get any job at all after he left the police service. And Odro is in Holland, he wants to come home. Edmond is in London, he wants to come home, but where does he start from? I've come home, just lucky to be given some small place to perch on. I don't have a house. They don't have houses. When they come, where do they live? So that's a problem facing members of my team, and I think I humbly and respectfully request the Commission to make some recommendations so that they could be rehabilitated. And I think that would have been also a motivating force that those who are coming after us, if a thing like this happens, they can say, oh, this was what happened, these people did that, and that was how they were rewarded, and I'm going to do it to be rewarded. But if this is not done, I'm afraid if we don't hope to face a situation like that, but, you know, we can never tell.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
So Yidana, thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much also for your book. I just want